What's up, everybody? It is time for another video. Today, I wanted to do a little Q&A and answer some questions about the book because a few people have, they hit me up on messages and whatnot and ask me questions about the book. So I figured I'd jump on here and maybe answer some questions if people have any questions about the book. So if you're watching, welcome to everybody who just jumped on. Thank you very much for joining. Make sure you click on that share button that's on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen and share this out to your friends right now. That would be much appreciated. And so fire away. What questions do you have for me? What do you think? What do you want me to answer? Because I know a few people have asked me questions. So if somebody watching has a question, I'll answer that. And while I'm waiting for that, one question that I get all the time is, how long did it take me to write the book? And that's a funny question because it really took me. Here's the book, by the way. It really took me a total of about 5 years from the inception of, okay, I have to write a book, and maybe like 4 years. And it started as a thought of like, okay, I really should write a book just about me and my life. And so, the idea started like that. And, that's when things really started changing. I think it was even before my actual transformation that I went through. So what happened was I just had the idea, and I don't even think it was me. I think my mom and my wife both said, you should write a book. So, I'll let them fight over who told me first. But both of them said it, and so it got in my head, and I was like, okay, I need to write a book. So then, I went through my transformation. A lot of things started happening, and so, the book started coming more and more to the surface of like, yeah, I really do want to write a book. I really do need to write a book. I have a story to tell, and I think I want to tell it. So, after, I didn't write anything through my whole transformation and getting fit and like doing that whole thing. And then afterwards, when I realized, wow, I really kind of went through something big, I was like, I really do want to write a book that is about what I've gone through most recently. So it's about my life, but also just about what I've gone through most recently with my physical transformation and really everything I learned with that. And then what happened was, as I started to do Disable My Disability, which is what it started as at first, before it became Disable Your Disability, basically it was Disable My Disability, and I was sharing my story about what I had been going through. And, I got my certification as a personal trainer, so I started helping people, started answering questions, I started reaching out. And so the idea for the book really started to take form at that point. So it was like, oh, okay, now I'm really getting, what the gist of this book is going to be. So, T and I, we joined a writers group. T was part of this writers group, and then I joined the writers group. And, through that process of being in that group and writing and really pushing myself and being accountable to other people to write something, that's when it really started to take effect. So I started writing. I just started writing stories. I think I wrote the beginning of the book, which is Breakable Beginnings. I started there because that starts from when I was born. So I was like, let me just start there. So I started writing stuff. And during that process as well, I started doing public speaking through Toastmasters. And I started doing improv at Second City. And so that really just helped me to find my voice, to push me to be creative, to start writing more and more. So I wrote the beginning, and then I stopped. And then, I was lost at that point because I didn't know exactly what should go in the book. That was the question. It was like, man, what is this book about? Is it just a memoir? Is it just about my life? And, that became like a huge task in my mind. I was like, man, that's like a huge book. And I'm like, I don't even know if I'm at a point where I want to write a memoir about my life. Have I experienced enough? And so as I started doing Disable My Disability, then that's when it changed into, okay, I want to write a book that's about what I've been through physically, and then give tips and tricks and like turn it more into a self-help where I can actually give a lot of help and ideas and concepts and actual practical tips on how to get healthy, how to stay healthy, and how to, mentally get through all that stuff. So that's when it started really taking form. That was about maybe 3 years ago. So then from that point, I then wrote the outline for the book. And it really was like just big chapter ideas. So I wrote chapter ideas. These are the chapters or the sections. In my book, I really don't even have chapters. I really just have parts. And I kind of broke it down that way where it's just like, I think it's 7 different parts. And let me see really quick. I want to say 7. 6. It's 6. 6 different parts. And within those, there's different sections. So then I wrote the outline. And then once I had the outline ready, I just started diving into different sections of the book. So through the writers group, then I was like pushing myself to just jump into any portion of the outline and then just write. So I was getting through a lot of that, and I wrote maybe 20,000 words, and then I stopped again, and I felt lost still. I still didn't have like a through line of kind of what this book was going to be about, and really how to tie it all together. And then finally, I had a huge breakthrough beginning, going into last summer. No, not last summer, like almost the summer before. I had a huge breakthrough of like, it's really about just the physical aspects of my life. I didn't want to get into too much of like my early years of emotion and tell stories that really didn't pertain to this whole through line of the physicality and what that means, and then kind of branching off of the physicality into the emotion, into the mental, into the spiritual stuff. So I really got a through line, and then I just started hammering it out. So then after that, going into last summer, or probably a few months before, maybe about a year ago, I stumbled upon the Miracle Morning for writers. And for those of you that don't know about the Miracle Morning, that's Hal Elrod's book. The Miracle Morning itself is a really cool book where he talks about he gives you these things called savers that you do every morning. It's a ritual stuff to get you going and just get your day started right. So I had read that book and it was awesome. And then I read one that they wrote specifically for writers, and it gave like some really great tips on how to really dive in and start writing. So from that book, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. and write. So that's what I did starting last year. Probably about a year ago. It was April or May. And I just started getting up every day writing. And so I finished, at that point I had like 25,000 words. So within 6 months, I wrote another 25 to 30,000 words. And I wasn't even sure if I was done. And I wrote even more than that. And there were sections that I pulled out of this book because it wasn't ready. So, it wasn't meant for this book. I have a whole section that talks about spirituality, about, the outside of the physical world and what that means around having a disability. But I was like, that's too big of a concept for this book. Like, that's going to be in the next one. So, I pulled stuff out of this book, and I really felt like, I finished my outline. I had covered every single chapter, and that was it. And I finished it around November, and that was it. And then it went through editing. A couple of people read it, and I edited, and then I put it out in February. So that was the process. That was the time that it took. So almost like 4 to 5, I'd say 4 years was the total time to write it. So that's the whole story about what it took to write this book. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but that's kind of the general outline and the process that I went through. So, I hope that answers some questions. And getting a text, sorry about that. So, but if anybody watching has any questions, comment right now and let me know your questions, and I'll answer your questions. Because I always get that question, like, how long did it take you to write? And, this book is 250 pages, but, it's very, I went kind of like a space and a half. I didn't do single space in the pages. I have a couple pictures in there. Those are near the beginning. And, my margins are kind of big. Like, I wanted this to be even shorter, but I realized that the information that I was giving, I couldn't do it shorter. I couldn't do this book shorter in this version because it would have lacked the essence of what I was trying to give to everybody. So again, if you have any questions for me, let me know right now. Comment below. If you're watching, if you have a question about the book, if you have a question about me or DYD or anything really, really about the book, I'm trying to answer questions. So another question I get all the time is about the pictures and where the pictures come from and how did I decide on these pictures on the cover. This is a picture when I was in an event. Gosh, I guess I was like 10 there or something. But yeah, I was in an event, like in a wheelchair, like kind of sports event where I would do races in my wheelchair. And this was literally like kind of ninth month out of my transformation when I was at my thinnest and strongest. I was 135 pounds right there. So it was kind of just showing these two extremes when I was a kid in the wheelchair and when I was like, fit. And then inside I have pictures of transformation, like when I was bigger, right before my transformation. I have that picture, and then a bunch of pictures when I was younger. So there's a lot of pictures that are inside that I didn't include on the cover. I was going to try to put them on the cover, but it was too much. So, and I'm even thinking I might do the expanded version. I may not even put my picture on the front. I may just put text and then put my pictures on the back. So I'm thinking about the expanded, revised version now. But that may come later because I'm working already on the next book that is Beyond Disable Your Disability. So anyway, I hope that answers a couple questions that maybe you've had about the book. I know a couple of people have sent me messages and asked me personally about that stuff, so I did want to answer that. And if you're watching this in the replay, go ahead and comment if you have any questions. And also, check this out. If you go to the link that's in the description, you're going to see a link to get on the DYD VIP list. And if you haven't bought the book yet, and you get on my VIP list right now, you're actually going to get a download to read the first 30 pages of the book. So you'll get a PDF and you can read the first 30 pages and see what it's all about, and just get an idea of what's in this book. So get on the VIP list. I'm also going to be doing a giveaway, so if you get on the VIP list right now, you will be part of that giveaway that I'm going to announce later this week. So make sure you click that link that's in the description. And yeah, that's it for today. My goal is to do a live video every day this month for the month of May. So we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it hot. And I look forward to providing as much value and helping as much as I can to answer questions and give some insight into who I am and what I'm up to as far as the writing is concerned, as far as going out and speaking, as far as exercising, as far as eating, as far as, motivation and mental things that we can talk about. So if you want me to cover anything, comment below, send me a message, whatever you feel comfortable with. All right, have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.